On today's 30-minute music marketing, the psychology of selling. Sheldon, sell it to me.
Cue the title sequence.
30-minute music marketing for musicians who want to get better at marketing their music.
Hello, I'm Sheldon.
Hi, I'm Greg.
And this is 30-minute music marketing, the show for independent artists and DIY musicians who want to get better at marketing their music. That's you. Thank you very much for tuning in, watching this on the FaceSpace, the YouTubes, or even the podcast. It's very popular, you know, Greg.
Is it?
It is. I'll chat to you about some stats once the episode is finished.
Is Spotify Spotify? That was for Bernie. Is that still the platform that gets the most listens?
It's the number one platform, yes.
And actually, we're starting to get a lot more comments on YouTube, aren't we? So, David
Yes.
Rex, thank you very much for your comments. I'm sure we will get to those at some point. So please ask questions away because it does help give us content for our episodes.
Indeed, next week's episode is based on a comment that we had. So if you want any particular questions answering, then by all means fire something across. Put a comment on this particular video, and we'll try and answer it in a future show. Now then, Greg. First off, we've had a very busy weekend.
We have.
The weekend just gone. My band played to rather a lot of people. Let's just drop that in now.
Bing.
That's quite a few people there, isn't it?
Yeah, quite a few.
So if you're ever wondering whether, these guys, what on earth are they on about? Well, and how can they justify and provide any sort of proof? Does this marketing business work? Well, just wind that business. I must apologise, if you're on the podcast, you can't actually see a photo of many,
We'll describe
thousands.
it's probably 8,000 to 10,000 people.
I'm going to go with 10,000 people.
Okay.
So those are some of the audiences that my particular band can play in front of and you film on behalf of myself.
Yes, and it's not every day that you get a dinosaur on stage with you.
No, but the less said about the dinosaur, the better, because
it was funny.
We're talking about the psychology
of selling.
Us as humans have evolved over tens of thousands of years, and our brains behave in a certain way, often without us knowing it.
Right.
And we've been talking over a number of weeks as to how basically to try and get our audience on side. We've maybe talked about Facebook ads as to how to attract an audience, and then we've talked about branding as to how maybe we can try and add value to the things that we do, and we've talked about building relationships with our audience to try and have a stronger connection with them, and we've even talked about creating all this content so that we can deposit goodwill with our audience in the hashtag fan bank. I hope everybody can use that in your own sort of music marketing conversations. But now we're trying to get to the stage whereby we're going to be asking our audience to put their hand in their pocket to maybe come out to see us at a show, maybe to buy some merchandise, heaven knows, to buy that long-awaited album that you've been working on for so long. But it's not just a simple case of, right, here's the thing. Oh. Is that your flatulence again?
I told you, I decided to go veggie. I can see why.
Yes, we're having a bit of drilling done somewhere within the building. So if you hear any strange noises, especially on the podcast...
That was the dog.
It's a drill bit, nothing else. We're going for the ass, but it's not just a simple case of going, right, I've done all these things for you now you've got to go out and buy whatever I'm doing, because our brains, like I say, have evolved over many years, and they sometimes respond to psychological triggers and psychological effects, which even we aren't necessarily conscious of.
Right.
So we're going to have a look at 5 particular instances that you might be able to use at various points within your music marketing to try and get your audience to put their hands in their pocket and maybe go out and buy something or do something that you want to do that involves cold, hard cash.
So can I introduce point number 1?
You can indeed.
Okay, the why.
The why. So you should be looking at giving your audience a justification of why whenever you're necessarily selling something. Now, in marketing terms, they refer to this as the pain points. So in other words, it's not just a case of you maybe putting a shout out on social media saying, oh, come and see us at the Manchester Academy on the 28th. Because knowingly, consciously or unconsciously, your audience might be sat at home and necessarily going, well, that's all very well, but why should I do that?
Yeah.
So within your particular messages, if you can put the reason as to why that might be beneficial for the person at the other end, you probably stand a greater chance of them actually doing what you want to do. So if you were to phrase a message something along the lines of, come to our gig at the Academy on the 28th and you'll get such a great night of whatever genre of music is that you do, you'll be leaving with a smile on your face. And I'm running some Facebook ads at the moment, and the end of for a variety of shows across the country, at the end of all these adverts, I say, book your tickets now. And in my particular case, because of the type of music that my bands do, book your tickets now for the biggest party of the year. So in other words, it's specifically stating what the added benefits that my show will give them, rather than just come to see a show. What will your audience, your fan member get? How will they be changed from the start of the gig to the end of the gig? You need to be selling the benefits rather than just saying, come to a show.
The one thing I have seen, which is the support local music venues. Why? Because if you don't use it, you lose it.
That's a fair enough point. But anything that you can do
it's not very personal, is it?
It's not particularly personal. People make decisions based on emotions.
Yep.
And we know all about this, based on politics of late.
People buy into people, don't they?
People buy into people. So anything that you can do in terms of your messages that specifically states the benefits of whatever you are selling, even if it's a case of, you're going to look absolutely drop dead sexy in this particular T-shirt, or in your, if you're selling a trucker's hat. Is that what they call them? Trucker hats?
Baseball cap.
I think that there is a specific type of baseball cap that's referred to as a trucker.
I'm just not hip enough.
Well, you've got to have your finger on the knob.
Pulse.
Yes. So specifically stating the why, stating the benefits, that's going to be of a benefit to you when it comes to selling.
So that's point one of psychology of selling.
Yes.
Point two, stimulating the senses.
Right. Greg, I'm going to ask you to picture the scene.
Okay.
You're in the local supermarket.
Yes.
You're walking down the fresh fruit and veg aisle.
Which is one I don't frequently.
I was just going to say, you're more a Pringles man, Pringles for dinner and Walker's Sensations for tea.
The amount of weight I've lost, I would say to the contrary. But go on.
I have to. Right. So say you pick up a piece of fruit.
Yep.
So the one thing
Let's go with a banana.
Start with a banana. Okay. So you're going to be examining that banana.
Yep.
It may well be that you inspect the banana
yep.
for blemishes, just to
yep.
see whether it's
spiders.
Spiders could be big ones, only in Australia. But maybe not with a banana, but maybe with another piece of fruit. Yep. You might sniff it, just an avocado. You might. This is a good tip. I don't know whether you eat lots of avocados.
Go on.
If you the top of the avocado.
Yes.
If you gently squeeze it with your thumb, if there's just a little bit of a give there, that shows you that it's just about ripe. If you press it at the top and there's no give, then it'll be one of those rock hard ones.
You need to leave it a while. Okay.
So we generally, whenever we're selling something, we engage our senses in order to check to see whether what we.
I suppose it gives you a bit more of an idea of what you're kind of getting, doesn't it?
Well, also, if we're on the topic of supermarkets, they're quite fond of putting all those smells in as soon as you come into the entrance of the store. It could be bread. There's possibly a fake smell of bacon lingering around the hot meat counter. That's probably
really.
Yeah.
No.
I once saw this. They called an aroma box. TM in a Julian Graves.
That was wafting bacon.
That would, not necessarily wafting bacon, but there are certain smells that that stimulate us.
They're cunning, these supermarkets, aren't they?
They are. I'm glad you used the cunning word there.
Yes.
I was getting rather worried. So anytime you can engage and activate the senses when you're of a particular person at the other end, anytime you can engage their senses, that's particularly a good thing. Now, when it comes to music, of course, that might be sort of slightly different. But if you're trying to get people out to a show, if you can show them what they are going to get once they get there, that's going to be a good thing. Because, for example, again, let's refer back in my own instance, this set of adverts that I'm running for my UK tour at the moment. I'm using footage that we recently filmed at a festival a couple of weeks back, which shows us performing on stage, and also, in addition, shows the crowd bouncing up and down, having a good time. So if people can actually, almost like the equivalent of see what they're getting, we're at least stimulating their eyes and their ears.
Well, you're taking away the risk factor, aren't you?
Yeah.
For punters, so to speak. So
if you and that's almost the. I mean, we've talked about packaging before when we were talking about branding, but it's the equivalent of them being able to see what they're likely to get is going to be less of a barrier for them, actually engaging and going out and hopefully trying to buy a ticket. The worst thing in the world is like come see us perform live. How good are you when you do actually perform live? If I can sample the goods in some way prior to that, that's good. It's a bit like film trailers. Would you go out and watch a film without necessarily watching a trailer, especially if it's an unknown quantity?
Yes, of course not. I mean, there are certain film producers or directors that I will watch because they've already established a connection with me. But for new stuff, it's like, of course you're going to watch a trailer.
So if people can see what they're going to get, that's going to be less of a barrier, and hopefully that's going to encourage them. Also,
you use that to help you get, in the past, to have got much better gigs, haven't you?
Yes, if promoters and venue bookers can see our sort of stagecraft, potentially the amount of people that turn up to our shows, then that's a good thing. But if I work for an events promoter, and we keep tabs on other events promoters and the tours and the concerts that they promote. And you'll probably see this yourself in terms of Facebook. Whenever somebody's got a tour, the one thing they will show is live footage of said artist or said band.
It's a given now. Yeah, I mean, if you think about with the festival that we just did at the weekend, I mean, for a start, the festival themselves filmed it and broadcasted it live on Facebook for certain artists. But then every other band that I saw, they pretty much were filming and doing stuff themselves. So if these guys are doing it, okay, you don't necessarily need to go out with exactly the same rig, but you can still use the same idea. Even just a smartphone in this day and age, if you can get somebody hovering around the stage or in the audience filming you, and then you're using that in your future promotional activities, that's going to be a good thing. Okay, number 3, Sheldon, on our psychology of selling list.
Yes.
So it is use social proofing.
Social proofing. So let's go back to the supermarket.
Yep.
Our theatre of the mind.
Yep.
So you've got your banana and your avocado, and you're heading towards the checkouts.
Yes.
There's only 2 tills that are open.
Okay, sounds like Aldi, but go on.
Yeah. There's one till with a very long queue with lots of people in it.
Yep.
And there's one till with a shorter queue that's only got maybe half the number of people in it.
Right.
Now, I don't know about you, but I'm the sort of person that would join the longer queue, because faced with that scenario, my brain would go, well, all those people had the opportunity to go to the shorter queue, but they didn't. So they must know something that I don't. And for my safety, I would join the longer queue, because I don't want the social embarrassment of joining the shorter queue and then being told by the cashier, we're closing this. And then I'd have to join the back of the long queue, and everyone in the long queue would go, Rrr.
So you're playing it safe?
I'm playing it safe, but what I'm doing is, in the process, I'm following the crowd. And that's what we, as human beings, like to do. We like to be influenced by the people that have gone before us. So whenever we're trying to sell anything, if we can use maybe the number of people that might have seen us before us to use in order to attract more people, that might be good. If you've had maybe a good review from someone who's a radio presenter, or a good review in a blog, say, for example, then again, use what has gone before to try and influence the purchase. of someone else. So let's refer back to these Facebook ads that I'm currently running. I'm using as part of a strapline within that advert a very good quote from a national radio DJ, working on the basis that, you know, if that particular radio DJ likes us, then even if someone at the other end isn't necessarily all that au fait with what we do, if a recognised national personality likes us, then that might just be enough to tip the other person over the edge.
Is this like brand association?
It's brand association. It's people, like I say, like to follow the crowd. So if you're, as an artist or musician, you're undertaking any sort of engagement whereby you might be playing in front of a large number of people, maybe in a support slot, maybe at a festival. Like I say, we've just played, my band's played the biggest gig of the year, and you were there to capture footage of that, just so, again, we can use that as, you know, to show other people that, you know, there's thousands of people in the crowd that are having a good time, and the other person, the person at the other end could be watching that and then going, oh, right, well, if all those people watched it and enjoyed it, then I'm safe to make a purchase on the basis that hopefully I will have a similar sort of experience as those many people who've gone before me.
So you've said your audience can be guided and influenced by whoever got there before them.
Indeed.
That's a good tagline.
So social proofing is good. Any sort of proofing from either large numbers of people or individuals. Even if you've not necessarily got that many sort of reviews, you can always use things like Facebook comments, or if you've had a nice sort of YouTube comment, just put that in general quotations somewhere within your music marketing messages. Could be on a poster, could be, as I say, within the body of a social post to try and encourage people along the way.
I did do something like this a long time ago. With an artist, but I decided to use a really complimentary remark by Melody Maker magazine, and I was hoping that someone would realise that Melody Maker hadn't been going since 1997.
Oh no! It was later than that. It was about 2006, wasn't it?
No, I think it was about 1997.
We'll have an argument.
But
after the camera stop recording.
I made up something by a defunct
magazine. Oh, don't
magazine.
make anything up.
But it was by a defunct.
Don't you make anything up.
It was by a defunct magazine. It was a joke.
As long as it was a joke.
It was a joke.
Yes, Greg's poor attempt at humour there.
I found it funny. Anyway, okay, so now on to point for number 4.
Point number 4.
And this is the thing known as scarcity.
Scarcity plays a part in encouraging people to buy because...
Doesn't our system work on the system of scarcity?
Which system's that?
Just our capitalistic system, where...
I'm not going too large.
Where...
Capitalistic ideologies.
Value is placed in the desire and demand for it, and if you keep demand high, you place and increase the value.
Well, what I will say is people generally want more the less things that there are.
Is that why diamonds are controlled in their...
Diamonds, gold...
Oil.
Oil, yes, that's going to get ever more expensive. So anytime there is a legitimate element of scarcity within your marketing practices, that's a good thing.
This comes back to this idea of not playing, when we did the thing a few weeks ago regarding saying how often you should play your hometown.
Yeah.
Again, it's that idea that if you keep it sparse, you'll make sure that you keep that demand for people to be there.
So when I've got an upcoming show and tickets starting to get low, I will put out some sort of message to say something along the lines of, 60% of tickets now gone for the Blackburn show. Make sure you get yours, otherwise you're going to miss out. And I've mentally, depending on the size of the venue and how quickly I think tickets will sell out, I've got various sort of trigger points. I've maybe got sort of 50%, 2/3, could be 75%.
You've also...
and it's almost like sometimes the less that there are, and if you can tell people it's almost like an accelerant into there being even more sales, and it becomes like a I was going to say a vicious circle, but it's a very pleasant circle.
But you do this with your merch though as well. All your T-shirts. I'm wearing one now.
Thank you very much.
He didn't. This is just I grabbed it out of the wash. He didn't ask me to wear it, and but once they're gone, that's it. There are no more, are there?
Yes, there are many UK supermarkets that use the phrase, "When they're gone, they're gone.
Yeah, and in this case, it it does spur people to kind of go, "Oh, I won't leave that. I'll buy that now." And then they'll wear it for the gig, I've noticed.
And if you're in an artist that's got a position of maybe you're going to a duplicator and you're pressing copies of
we do that
of your new album, and even if you're only pressing or printing 100 copies, then what you should really do is you should almost take the limited number that you're making and almost use that as a selling advantage to say these are ultra limited edition, hand signed. I'm going to number them 1 to 100. Once these are gone, then that's it. There'll never be another printed. And so you can almost, like I say, you might think that I'm not going to be able to sell that many, so therefore I'll only do 100. And rather than that being a disadvantage, you're actually turning around and making it an advantage.
I mean, and now you'll notice, I know Trent Reznor was one of the first people to start doing this with these ultra super deluxe box sets, and he would be selling them for like $300-400 a piece, and had maybe only 500 of them, and they all sold.
Yeah.
And he proved that even at that point, price was not the barrier. It was providing something the fans wanted, and then putting a scarcity value on it. That they just went like that.
So sometimes, in terms of what you're making, less is more. And if you give your audience an appropriate signal as to when things are running out, that hopefully might be a trigger in order to increase sales. Now, I do know some people, and I won't mention who, that No, you can't. Well, you can't because you don't know.
Okay, then, fair enough. Go on.
Some people who might do a little bit of fibbing and say, tickets are selling really fast. Make sure you nip out and get yours, otherwise you'll be disappointed. And maybe they aren't selling all that particularly well, but they're using that as a way to, let's get back to the fibbing again, as a way to try and induce
traffic.
Ticket sales. Now, I wouldn't necessarily recommend that, because what might happen is you might necessarily get to the venue once you bought a ticket and think, well, I thought tickets were selling very fast. I can't see many people
and
here.
And you're losing the trust.
And so you're, like you say, potentially losing the trust. And next time round, then they might not be as keen to put their hand in their pocket. I wouldn't necessarily do that. I'd never do that, because I'm an honest sort of person. But I know some people who might bend the truth a little.
I think we do know these people.
No, I'll tell you about it later.
Okay. So number 5, you're going to have to pronounce this because I don't know how to.
Reciprocity.
Okay, I wasn't sure if it was reciprocity or something.
Yeah. Well, it's
Velociraptor.
Velociraptors. It means, basically, if you do something for me, I'll do something for you. And in some respects, we've been talking about this.
Isn't that tit for tat?
Over a number of weeks.
Or is this something nice?
It's talking about the fan bank.
Okay, yeah.
It's doing something nice for somebody in the first instance, in the hope that at some point in the future, they'll do something nice for you.
Somebody did ask me a question.
Yes.
They said, well, we've done so many episodes now.
Yes.
So imagine, if you were doing the 80-20, for 80%, I think he was saying that 80% that we give, we want 20% back. He then said, when are we going to ask for the 20% back? And I went, probably not yet.
Oh, no, probably not. No.
And it's like,
again, we're in it necessarily for the long term.
Exactly. So
we're building things up slowly. We're building an audience. Hello for watching. Thank you, audience. We love you.
And listening.
And listening, yes.
So
#podcast. So right. So for example, you occasionally help out on my band's merch stall. We have free stickers that we don't necessarily need to give out.
But people love them.
But people love them, and I work on the basis that if people have spent £14 to £15, and sometimes more, for a ticket, then the very least I can do is, as well as giving them a fantastic show, give them a little bit of something for free that they can take away, and stick up wherever they please. Obviously, you can sell something, but anytime you can give somebody for something for free, or the other phrase that is sometimes used in the world of marketing is surprise and delight. So sometimes there'll be something that you've ordered something over the internet, Greg, and you'll open up the package and there'll be, like a nice little package of sweets, or a little bit of a freebie, a little bit of a Brucey bonus that you haven't necessarily asked for. Somebody's give you something for nothing, and you think, That's nice.
You do remember that.
And what happens is the next time you need to come to buy something in the future, they're working on the basis that you will probably turn to them as a retailer over and above everyone else because they were nicer to you in the first instance. So again, as I said, we talk about that in terms of the fan bank, so in terms of you giving your audience a constant supply of content that they will like and appreciate and find value in. That's one way of doing that. Anytime you might be able to give your audience maybe a free sort of badge at a show, even just the very act of spending some time with them, maybe at the merch stall for a bit of a meet and greet, press the flesh, say hello, and and just
that's heavily valued.
Give them your time. That's something they'll appreciate. So anytime you can surprise and delight and give your audience maybe something for nothing, they will appreciate that. And if not necessarily on your current transactions, that will oil the wheels of commerce in terms of future stuff.
It really can't do you any harm, can it?
It certainly can.
So to summarise today's 30-minute music marketing, do you want to do it or shall I?
I'll do it. So first off, tell people why you want them to either come to your show or basically sell the benefits of what you are offering people rather than just making an ask or making a demand. Wherever possible, stimulate the senses of your audience. We've got a dog on the couch.
We have a dog on the couch.
It's one of the disadvantages of doing a show on the... what's his name? Graham Norton doesn't have a dog walking on his show.
He's missing out. So you've done... Sorry, I got distracted.
I got distracted by the dog.
So we've done... Did you say...
I mentioned stimulating the senses.
Right, okay. So the next one is social proofing. Pictures of people at your shows.
Are good.
Great quotes and use them in your marketing.
Whenever you've got scarcity, emphasise that within your marketing messages. So if something's running low or you only have a limited supply of something, tell your audience that, and that might hopefully
give them a bit of a
push, a spur. And point number 5 is do something nice for your audience and do it first.
Because you can't really go wrong.
If this particular episode of the show has intrigued you somewhat and you'd like to maybe learn a little bit more, I've got this book, which is currently sitting in your library.
I did wonder where that came from.
Yes, well, it came from me.
It was safe.
Brainfluence, 100 Ways to Persuade and Convince Consumers with Neuromarketing by Roger Dooley. It's a very good read.
Hang on, whilst you got that one, then I'll get mine. I'll see your Brainfluence and I'll raise you to...
Wow. Books are good, by the way. We love books.
Do you know?
So, from Brainfluence, what are we...
Then I have here Persuasion, The Art of Influencing People by James Borg. It's pretty cool.
The Borg and the Dooley. There you go. 2 recommended books.
So that's it for today.
That's it for today. Thanks very much for watching the show. If you like the show, tell a friend, share it, pass it on. If you're listening to it on a podcast, screen capture it and stick it on your social networks and say, "Oh, this is a good show. You might like this."
Feel free to share our Facebook pages or our Facebook posts on your Facebook page.
That'll be good. And if you've got any suggestions for future topics for us to discuss, then whack them in the comments. And until next week, we shall see you next time.
Take care.
Daddy, bye.
Bye.